A closer look at the president's relationship with two men who are now at the center of the investigation into his dealings with Ukraine. Foreign-born nationals Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman. These two were arrested earlier this month on campaign finance violations, but it sounds like they were up to a whole lot more. Hours after that happened, the president very quickly distanced himself from these guys.
I don't know those gentlemen.
You're in pictures
Now, it's
with
possible I have a picture with them because I have a picture with everybody. I don't know them. I don't know about them. I don't know what they do.
But a look through Lev Parnas' private Instagram account conducted by the Wall Street Journal reveals posts that put Parnas at a Trump campaign event in 2015 with various members of the Trump family, jet-setting with Rudy Giuliani to Warsaw and Paris, and perhaps the most jarring, on March 25th, one day after Bill Barr released his summary of the Mueller report that the president was viewed as a big win, Parnas posted a photo sitting at a dinner with the president's legal team, writing this: "Congratulations, Team Trump. Job well done." Dinner with the legal team? That's more than just your average fan photo. Fruman and Parnas have not entered pleas to the charges yet. Joining me now to discuss, Matt Miller, former Justice Department spokesperson, and James Stewart, columnist with the New York Times and author of a new book I highly recommend, Deep State. Do not read it before you go to bed. It will give you nightmares. Matt, what part of this relationship that's emerged is most concerning for you?
I think what it looks like is that these two individuals were really trying to set up this kind of corrupt bargain on both sides of the Atlantic. You know, we see the pictures of them with the president and with Rudy Giuliani. I don't think it necessarily means a lot that they do have pictures with the president. As he said, he takes pictures with a lot of people. But what's significant is their attorney, John Dowd, the president's former attorney, told Congress that they were officially part of the president's legal team, that they were working on behalf of Rudy Giuliani. And what it looks more and more like what they were doing is working overseas with this Ukrainian oligarch, Dmitry Firtash, who has been indicted by the U.S. Justice Department and is in Austria trying to fight his extradition. Looks like they were working with him to try to manufacture dirt on Joe Biden for Rudy Giuliani and for the president. In return, they went to work for Firtash, working through a separate team of lawyers who are close to Giuliani and are close to the president, though they don't represent him. And we're trying to get Firtash's indictment dismissed. And so I think the questions going forward for them and for Rudy Giuliani is, did Giuliani ever talk with the president about some relief on behalf of this Ukrainian oligarch who is helping him manufacture dirt on Biden? Did he talk to the Justice Department? We know he had this meeting with Justice Department officials that they have been trying very much to distance themselves from since it happened. So I think there are a lot of questions going forward, and it's really just kind of another layer of this scheme that the president and Giuliani were perpetrating to try to get dirt overseas in Ukraine that they could use against political opponents back here in the United States.
And it wasn't just Rudy Giuliani. John Dowd, who once was the president's legal representation, had a specific relationship with these two men. James, how do these two guys get into this kind of circle?
Well, this is really so predictable. It's exactly the pattern that Trump has demonstrated throughout the events in my book, through the Mueller hearing, which is essentially he is completely goal-oriented. He wants to achieve an outcome. He doesn't really care how he gets there. I think one of the most famous and shocking lines in Deep State is where he says, well, where is my Roy Cohn? I want a Roy Cohn.
Remind us who Roy Cohn is.
Well, Roy Cohn was a notorious lawyer who was most famous for the McCarthy hearings, but he went on, he represented Trump. He was disbarred for unethical and illegal behavior before his death. He's considered a despicable figure in the legal community, but he did get results. And by picking Giuliani, getting these, I don't know what to call them exactly. I don't want to use the word thug, but, something like that kind of comes to mind. On his team, he wraps the whole thing in the attorney-client privilege. It's all super secretive. None of these people are ever going to testify. Giuliani will never testify. They can do whatever, essentially, they think they want to achieve the goal he wants. And, forget the ethics, the legal constraints, or anything else that might get in the way.
Why are we forgetting the ethics or the legal constraints? Matt, you were once a part of the Department of Justice. Now it's being reported that the DOJ is distancing itself from Rudy Giuliani following the indictment of these two guys. Why on earth would Bill Barr have been tied to Rudy Giuliani from the get-go?
Well, it's a very good question, and the Justice Department has been working overtime since this Ukrainian this Ukrainian abuse of power scandal emerged to try to distance themselves both from the scandal itself and from Giuliani. Remember when the memo of the president's call with the Ukrainian president was released? The Justice Department put out a statement immediately saying Barr did not know that the president has raised his name with President Zelensky. They distanced themselves from this meeting with Giuliani. Last week, when Mick Mulvaney made his comments, the Justice Department quickly put out a statement saying, well, we didn't know anything about this. I can't quite figure out what's going on there. One possibility is that they just see how badly this scandal is going and they want to get as much distance for themselves as possible because everyone there is looking out for their own career. But I have a nagging suspicion that there is more that we don't know about the Justice Department's involvement. Remember, they quashed a criminal investigation into the president's phone call with Zelensky before the public knew about it. They decided not to look further, not to open a full investigation. And I can't help but think, given how nervous and how jumpy the department has looked over the past few weeks, that there is something else there that they are really worried about coming out. And so they're trying to put all this distance between themselves and the White House before that next fact emerges.
It's not just the president and Rudy Giuliani. Other Republicans are tied to these guys. We know that Florida Governor Ron DeSantis met with them. He was working with them before he won in 2018. Last week, former Republican lawmaker Carlos Curbelo said to me he met with them once. How do these two guys, and I don't think it's a stretch to say thugs, how are they meeting with our political leaders? None of this raises red flags?
Well, of course it should have raised red flags. You and I just can't knock on these people's doors and get a meeting. Now, there is a reason for it. I do not know specifically what it is, but the message must have gotten to them that somebody high level, possibly the president himself, quite possibly Giuliani, close to the president, wanted this to happen and wanted them to meet with them and had certain goals in mind. And, I want to say also something about Giuliani and Barr and their rivalry. I've known all these characters for decades.
Whose
I know Giuliani
rivalry?
very well. The rivalry between Barr and Giuliani, and then throw Trump into the mix. Let me tell you, there is no room big enough for the egos of those three. Somebody's head is going to roll, and there's a lot of jockeying going on between the Justice Department, Barr, and Giuliani to be the real advisor whispering in the president's ear.
Really? Because a novice would say right now, it seems like the three of them are operating in lockstep. You think that's not the case?
I don't think that's going to last. I just, knowing what I know about all of them, I mean, even now you're seeing the White House start to distance itself somewhat from Giuliani. I mean, Trump loved Giuliani. Again, he's in my book. You see, he delivered the result he wanted on Mueller by taking a really tough, hard line on all this. That emboldened him to go out to do this. But Trump's practice is, how much news is Giuliani getting? He's in the spotlight. He's on TV. We're sitting here talking about him right now. That is not going to go down with Trump. He wants one person in the spotlight, and we know who that is.
And we remember where the president's attorney of 10 years, former fixer, is right now, Michael Cohen. He's sitting in jail.